All right. I'm Peter Alessandria, and for the next 60 minutes, I invite you to ask me anything that you want. So guys, we're not going to do our regular intro or anything like that. I only have one thing I want to share with you guys, and then we're just going to go right into the Ask Me Anything. So I just want to share with you guys this quote of the day for today. This actually comes from Abraham Hicks, but I really see it as in alignment with everything we've been talking about, certainly everything I'm working on in my own life. And it's really this first sentence. The most valuable skill or talent that we could ever develop is that of directing our thoughts toward what we want and giving our undivided attention to that. This is a tremendous skill in deliberately directing our thoughts that will yield results that cannot be compared with results that mere action can provide. So for me, what this means is if we don't control our thoughts are going to control us. So it's really, really important to begin to understand that, number one, we can consciously and deliberately choose what we think, and by extension, what we feel, say, and do. And that if we're just going to go from our habitual conditioned way of reacting to the world, nothing's going to change. So I'm suggesting this is where I'm at in my own life. I see this now, and there's some metaphysical. I mean, the Abraham Hicks stuff is metaphysically based. There's some spiritual stuff that I've been reading and studying. Talks all about the power of the mind, and the power of the mind is harnessed when we learn to direct our thoughts. So look, all I can say is I see in me that it's so easy for my mind to go off in all kinds of different directions and go, have conversations in my head with people that I don't know and that I'll never meet, play out scenarios in my head that never come to be, spend a lot of mental energy and activity and attention on stuff that not only doesn't serve me, but it could actually, it's actually hampering my life. So I'm going to suggest, and this is what I'm working on, that true power is when we really do harness the power of our thought, our ability to think thoughts that serve us, to think the thoughts that we want to think, and to direct our thinking in a way that produces the outcomes that we want. Nobody can do this for us. And I for most of my life, I thought, well, my thoughts are just my thoughts. I can't control my thoughts, but I'm learning now that I can actually choose my thoughts. And when I do, I can direct the direction of my life. I can direct the direction of the day a lot more easily. So for me, it starts with being conscious in the moment. Okay, what am I thinking right now? Is this, and how am I feeling? Sometimes I don't know what I'm thinking until I recognize how I'm feeling. So remember, if I feel negative emotions, it must mean that I'm thinking negative thoughts, because our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our words and actions, and our words and actions lead to the outcomes. So, consciously, number one, being conscious of what I bring into my mind. So what am I focusing on in terms of media, internet, what I read and all of that, people I interact with? And then being aware in the moment. What am I thinking? And is this what I want to think? Am I repeating these old patterns? Am I going down that same road that I know where it's going to lead? But I just feel powerless to change my own thoughts. I mean, I think this is the difference between, ordinary life and mastering life. Being able to consciously and deliberately choose what we focus our mental attention on in a way that serves us. It's not easy. It's simple, but it may not necessarily be easy. But I think with practice, and being willing to be responsible for what I'm thinking in each moment, that begins the ball rolling. So that's it in terms of our planned discussion for tonight. So I'm here to listen to you guys, questions, discussions. If you want to talk about applying this stuff to a particular situation in your own life, could be anything that we've talked about, over the last 12 months. I'm also have a little surprise for you guys. I'm actually going to be sending you guys a certificate of participation in the workshop. So these will go out next week, just to commemorate and to acknowledge the effort and the work that you guys put in, showing up every week. So who wants to kick us off? Dee Dee.
I do. Thank you so much. Thank you. I had to step away for a second, so I missed seeing the certificate, but I'm truly grateful and excited. And I can't wait to see what I'm going to do with that certificate. There you go. So I wanted to get on the screen and ask you this question because I believe all of that stuff that you just said, and I have experience in my own life where I know that it's true for me. And I found that the situation that I am in the last couple of weeks, I started telling myself that I'm burnout. I started telling myself that because I could see the end of a job coming. Well, surprise, it might not be the end as quickly as I thought. So my question to you is, because I'm going to get off the screen and do some self-care while I'm participating, how I do my favorite place, which is, by the way, the backdrop here. What do you do when you're starting to feel burnout and you start noticing that you're telling yourself that, and that you are? And what do you do for self-care rejuvenation that looks like the deep, not just the surface kind, but the deepest kind that you've ever experienced? And I just love being in the room with you all. Thanks, Pat.
All right, great question, Dee Dee. So I always like to bring in, I talk about my 7-year-old nephew. This kid has more energy than anybody I've ever met. I mean, little kids normally have energy, but this kid is unbelievable. And I recognize that it's not the activity that makes us tired or burnt out or whatever you want to call it. It's the mental resistance. See, he doesn't walk around telling himself, gee, if I play football now, I'm not going to be able to ride my bike this afternoon, or I'm not going to be able to go swimming tomorrow. He doesn't talk himself out of being active, feeling energized, and all of that. Now, let me take a step back. So the first thing is self-care. And that is, one of the things that I have learned to do now is I need at least 8 hours of sleep. And my sleep is not always consistent through the night. So I may have to be in bed for 10 or 11 hours sometimes, or maybe 9 hours, 9 or 10 hours. To get 8 hours of sleep, I got to be in bed for 9 hours. So that's kind of the basic, and then, meditation, it's again, for me, there's a physical aspect component, obviously, but I think more than anything else is learning to deal with the mental aspect. So some meditation, some quiet time every morning, quiet time before I go to bed at night, listening to positive, life-affirming, uplifting messages, affirmations, programs, and all of that. And then recognizing that, burnt out, tired is about resistance. And resistance is almost always, for me, stress and resistance are almost always centered in fear. There's some kind of fear or anxiety or anxiousness, reticence, whatever. And so that's a mental process. And that's who I think that's based on how I see myself in that situation. Remember, my definition of fear is an emotional response to a perception of ourselves as powerless and or unlovable in a given situation. So it's that sense that seeing myself as powerless, that sense of I'm not in control of my life. Something is going to happen to me that I can't defend against, or I can't take care of myself, or there's going to be some kind of a negative outcome that I don't have any control over. That generates the mental resistance, and that translates into the physical manifestation of that. In, stress, anxiety affects the body. It wears us out. We wear ourselves out all day long with our thinking. I've been exhausted, and I've never even left the house sometimes because I've just got that negative, that ongoing banter, and this general sense of dread based on my idea about myself that says I can't handle my life. I can't handle what's going on or what's about to happen. So it's a combination of all of that. I think, the way I started out the discussion tonight is learning how to direct my thinking, learning how to literally, when I have a negative thought and I become aware of it, is to stop thinking that thought, consciously and deliberately shift my focus, shift my mental attention, and bring up a new thought. Could be an affirmation, could be, there's a few kind of spiritual things, but you could do the serenity prayer if you know that. You could do anything actually that's positive and that's empowering and that centers you. So my point is, we don't have to become a slave to our thinking, especially our negative thinking. And when we learn to direct that, to take responsibility for what I'm thinking, because, the other thing is, well, I'm thinking negative thoughts because you're being a jerk, or because you're not respecting me, or you didn't live up to your part of the bargain, or, I have all these reasons in my head why I have to think the thoughts that I think. And again, it's not bad or wrong, but I think if we want to change our lives, I say, my quote on my website is, change your thoughts about yourself and your life will follow. So if I don't change my thoughts about myself, and then by extension, how I see everybody else and the situations of my life, not much is going to change. But I am going to get more tired. It's going to wear me out. It's going to be more and more dispiriting. That's a good word, dispiriting. It's like the spirit is drained out of us by our negative thinking. And you say, well, but, I'm not making this up. I got a whole lifetime of negative experiences. They did this to me when I was a kid, and then they did that to me in school, and then they did this to me in my job, and then this relationship ended because I got a whole litany of justifications why I'm thinking negative thoughts all day. But I'm going to suggest that, again, maybe the experiences follow the thoughts as opposed to the experience causing the thoughts. Or at least it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, it becomes a vicious cycle, becomes this ongoing drama, and we have all the evidence about how they did us wrong and how they hurt us and how they were neglectful and how life has been unfair to us. And we have proof. I can show you pictures. I can show you video of how life has been unfair to me. I built my case. I'm ready to go to court to prove how hard life is, how unfair life is. So, again, I'm going to suggest, it's just something to think about, but it's when we learn to redirect our thinking, when we learn to consciously and deliberately. That's what true power is. What's true power? True power is the ability the ability to consciously choose and or change our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. We can all do this, and it's actually not even that hard. Once for me, it's like it's like I'm learning that the reason I think what I think is because I value certain things in my life. I value feeling like a victim. I value people being, treating me unfairly. I value life not working out. I just bought a brand new computer and it's a mess. And I spent, the whole afternoon on this, and it's like it just fulfills this prophecy that, spend all this money and then it doesn't work out. There's something wrong with it. So it's like, it could just be the computer, but it could also be, how, number one, I get to choose how I respond to that. And I notice, I'm feeling like a victim. I'm feeling defeated. It's like, oh, I shopped for weeks and months and I thought I found the right one, and the screen's a mess. And I don't think it's just this computer. I think it's this brand. They have this issue because I have another one of their screens and it has similar issues. So, but I get to choose. What am I going to focus on? And I want to lash out and I want to say, how could you do this? And, this is so unfair and life should be different. Eckhart Tolle talks about, and actually 12-step programs talk about, it all starts with accepting what is, not being in opposition to what's actually happening in this moment. Because the whole problem with the computer is not that there's a problem with it, but I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be different than it is. And I translate that into, well, that means life is unfair. That means, I have a whole litany of what that means to me. That, remember, this is so important. We give every situation all the meaning that it has for us. So I can interpret this situation with the computer however I want. I'm giving it the meaning that I'm giving it. And so when I take responsibility for my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, I begin to look at that and say, wow, do I really want to, stress myself out? Do I want to feel like a victim? I feel physically, I could feel it in my body. When I feel like a victim, I get exhausted. My body hurts, it's hard for me to focus. So, and part of the problem is, well, maybe they won't take the computer back if I don't like it. And then what am I going to do? I got to fight with this big corporation to get my money back. So I start that whole thing. So that's a part of my history, is feeling victimized by large corporations, by the government, by, authority figures. So I can go down that road. I could spend hours thinking about how I'm going to get my money back for this goddamn computer that they screwed up, instead of at least saying, my affirmations, which is I can take care of myself in all situations and with all people. I got this. This is going to work out okay. I'm not who I used to be. I know how to take care of myself. Things always work out for me. But all those positive affirmations go out the window when I'm confronted with this situation that I didn't anticipate. And I want to feel, and here's the thing, I really am choosing that. I'm literally choosing to feel victimized by my situation. Nobody makes me feel anything, ever. Doesn't mean they're acting appropriately. Doesn't mean they're not, they're not accountable for their bad behavior, but they still don't make me feel anything. They don't make me think, feel, say, or do anything. That's true power. When I take my power back from the situation, when I take my power back from other people, and I decide in this moment, consciously and deliberately, who I'm going to be. This is, I started out the workshop by saying the most important question we can ask ourselves is, who do you think you are? Now I'm going to say the most important question we can ask ourselves is, who do you want to be in this situation? Who do you choose to be when you're confronted with somebody else's bad behavior, or somebody else not living up to their side of the bargain? A natural disaster, a virus, whatever. Who do you want to be in that moment? And that's when we become the creators of our lives rather than the reactors. We talked about the difference between reacting and responding, and the difference between being a reactor and a creator. And the creator takes their power back in that moment and says, it doesn't matter what they're doing or not doing. Doesn't matter what's happening or not happening. This is who I want to be in this situation. And I'm going to be that. And then I'm going to bring that to the other person or the situation, and we're going to work it out. Does that answer your question, Dee Dee?
Yeah, I'm on board. I love when you started talking about being a victim, how much joy it brought you. It was a very cool smile. And thank you for sharing. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I believe I'm on board with your affirmation tapes, that everything always works out for us. And so I look forward to that report back. Thank you, Peter. Oh, yeah. Regarding feeling burnout. Yeah. I noticed that I started telling myself that when I knew the possibility of actually changing what I was doing on a schedule basis was imminent. And I was just premature. So I'm going to choose to know that I was just premature, and that my opportunity for rest and rejuvenation is imminent. And I'm just really glad to be here with you and to hear, just to be reminded that I have a choice. With every thought, I have a choice. Thanks, Pass.
Yeah, and so that's great. And when other people are involved, taking care of ourselves means we may have to set boundaries. We may have to, we'll do whatever we have to do to make sure that we're okay. We get enough sleep, we get enough, all that stuff. And if the demands of the job are too much, I have to be willing to go to whoever and say, look, this is not working for me. This is not what we agreed to, or this is not, or I just need more time off, or I need a longer lunch hour, whatever it is. So part of the not being burnt out means setting boundaries, taking care of ourselves with other people, and then self-care, and then, really revamping our mental attitude, our perspective, our perceptions. And, again, my nephew, that kid, he's not deterred by anything, and nothing. It's so interesting. He doesn't have that whole litany of negative thinking about himself and other people yet. Unfortunately, I can see some of it is kind of coming in. But it's just so interesting to me. It's not the activity that makes us tired, that burns us out. It's the mental resistance. And the mental resistance is almost always based in some kind of fear. All right, great. Say anything else? Dee Dee, you're good.
Yeah, I can relate to the fear on another project that's coming up. So yeah, it could be I'm projecting my fear into the future. Thanks, Paz. And wouldn't it be great to be 7 again? Well, to have the energy of a 7-year-old and the innocence.
To have the energy and the innocence of a 7-year-old, yeah. And that's why the inner child work is good. Little Peter's been here the whole time, a year on my desk, just as a reminder that we have a relationship with that, and that little kid with all their energy and all their enthusiasm. I think it's, I don't know if it's the Greek or the Latin derivation of the word enthusiasm, and enthusiast is in spirit, and it actually in God, I think. So it's in spirit, in God is the root of enthusiasm. So we want to get back into, kids are spirited. Kids have that in the moment, being in the moment, and they're enthusiastic. you know, again, and I remember myself when I was his age, you know, I could play in the mud for like hours because it was so interesting, and everything was still new, you know, and so having that enthusiasm for life, that's why one of my affirmations is, you know, I love being alive, because I don't always feel that way. Not that I want to kill myself or anything like that, but it's just like losing the enthusiasm for life, losing it being in the moment, being in spirit, you know, finding life interesting. It's one of the reasons I still, you know, I'm interested in quantum mechanics, quantum theory, and theory of relativity, and physics and astrophysics and all that. You know, it's just stuff that it's like, it's still new. I'm still learning. So that's the great thing about being willing to learn new things, you know. It keeps life interesting.
Peter, I'm going to ask a question for the end. If you don't have, only if there's space. Like, I'm super excited to hear and I could read the vision out of the book. I could read your vision. But here you are in person. I'd rather hear about it. What do you see the next part, not the next part, but your, I guess the next part. I mean, how do you see this manifesting in the future? And you don't have to answer that, but it is a question if there isn't another one. Pass.
Well, if you mean that the work that I'm doing, I mean, is that what you're?
Yeah, I guess I mean that specifically around the quantum physics, quantum mechanics part. I think that's the part that I look forward to having it being part of the discussion.
Well, that's just my own curiosity. I mean, I'm not planning on being a physicist or anything like that. It's like a hobby, and not even just something to do on YouTube. But I do find it interesting because it does tie together for me. The metaphysics, I think what we're experiencing now, or we will be experiencing in the next few years, is where the metaphysics and the physics really come together. So it becomes science, you know, a lot of the metaphysical principles that, you know, we've been talking about, that the, you know, the new age people, the, you know, new thought people have been talking about for years, law of attraction. I think more and more we're going to see that colliding with actual science, you know, and begin to understand that. And so I always look at it through that lens. But for me, it's just interesting. I'm also really interested in the stock market and cryptocurrency too. So in fact, I'm spending more time. I've learned in the last 6 or 8 months, I've learned all about, you know, trading and the different markets, you know, and I've actually got some money in the cryptocurrency market. So I'm on a daily basis, I get to ride that train, and that's quite a ride. It's a roller coaster. It's not a train. It's a roller coaster. So that's new, you know. So my point is, you know, find something that's interesting, and then find that enthusiasm for life. Find that enthusiasm, and maybe you already have it. You know, maybe you have that, and you can call it passion. You can call it, you know, the intensity, goals, being driven towards something. I think the problem, though, is when, you know, I'm no longer in love with my life. When I stop loving my life, you know, life stops loving me. And again, you know, depending on who you ask, there's a lot of people who feel that that's what the aging process is. We just slowly lose our enthusiasm for life, and so everything breaks down. And again, Abraham Hicks, you know, law of attraction, they talk about it's all driven by desire, that wanting, that desiring something. And when we stop desiring, we stop pulling things towards us, and we start to fade. Now, it doesn't have to be selfish desires. You know, we could desire world peace. We could desire to help people in our family or whatever. But it's that passion, it's that enthusiasm that keeps us alive, quite honestly. again, I think that's, that's one reason why kids have so much energy and adults can't get off the couch. I think that's part of it, at least. I don't know if that answers your question, Dee Dee, but
Yeah, and I'll stay tuned. Thank
all right, I'll
you.
keep you posted. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm actually going to play this song again. I got to change the battery. So I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So let's continue the discussion. Looks like Barb has a question or wants to say something.
No, I was just laughing. I'm tired today. I just felt tired today, and Dee Dee was talking about being burnt out. You know, sometimes you just feel that way, and you know, your explanation was great. You know, sometimes it is that resistance, but I think sometimes it's life. But you don't have to really burnt out. So I'm sitting here and I'm tired, and the song came on, you know, just now. And all of a sudden, you know, you've seen it in commercials and everything. Your foot starts tapping and you get some energy and you're like, boom, boom, boom. And I start laughing and I said, wow. And, you know, and that's even what music does to people is it gives you, you know, whatever it takes. But, you know, this song is unique. This song is really wonderful. It actually made me laugh or chuckle, you know, because I was really just kind of, you know, vegging or whatever the word is. And then when the song came on and then it says, I love my life, I just laughed. I just really chuckled because that's what you're talking about. Now, I may not feel that way right now, but I understand that that's where I've got to get to. And I mean, a lot of people, but that's where I've got to get to. And what I was going to say is that, you know, my experiences at work are what they are. I don't know if each week I'm going to have something, but they're all victories because I've changed. You know, I know you said I have, and I know I have. You know, she was away for a week. I worked very hard. I worked by myself. I did the job of two people. And I also took off a day and I had another day off. So, you know, in other words, to do my job of the bulletin that takes 4 days, I only had 2 days to do it. I remember last week, I said to myself, I never want to feel that kind of stress again. One of it was my fault for taking off one day. I should have realized it. But I got through it and I got it accomplished, which I told you, and you always get it accomplished. Well, she went to the bulletin and she turned around and she says, the bulletin is a disaster. The bulletin is a mess. And I just was like, no kidding, you would say so. It was just like, so far. And, you know, just like I said to you, it hurts. It totally, boom, you know, does something to you. And, you know, it didn't take long where before, like I said, without this help that you have given, it would have taken me so long to get over that. I talked to myself. I was like, okay, this isn't right. Number one, you always talked about boundaries, but I had this discussion with myself where I was going to say, she shouldn't talk to me that way. Now, whether or not I want to approach that, whether I want to confront that, that was going to be my choice. I know she shouldn't, you know, she can't, she shouldn't, she can't. Okay. So I got over it quickly. I really did. It was amazing. I was like, you know what? That's your problem. You know, it was just amazing how quickly I got over it. And I did. And I had another task to do. So I was doing it. And as she was doing the bulletin, whatever. And I'm sitting there going, Barbara, just be happy that she's doing it because it's going to make life much easier for you. You know, it was, you know, so, you know, I could say that 14 months, once a week is a tremendous help, Peter. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, I feel that way, whoever feels that way. You know, it took 14 months for me to get here once a week. So it's kind of, I understand I have all the tools and I do. They come up all the time. I use them. I've changed. But, you know, just to say, I don't know. I don't know how, you know, how to, I know maybe that's why I was a little down when I was sitting here, because I do know that whenever you put that much effort in, 14 months once a week is a lot of effort and the rewards are wonderful and it's going to end. And you talked about it in the beginning of this, you know, I need to keep it up. You know, maybe it was easier for you to do it and give me the information. now it's my job to keep it up. So, I think if I feel, and I don't know about Dee, when I feel down, or I just know that song is going to lift me up. I know that's where you got it from, but it was amazing to see my feet start tapping and my body start moving, and I just wanted to jump up and dance. So from a very tired person. So I have to remember all these. I don't know, is the word remember? There's so much, Peter. And okay, I've changed. So no negative thoughts. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I feel, okay, should I say it? I love my life. I may not love my life, but I love myself today. And that's a tremendous thing. So I'll keep on saying that.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, if you can really say that and mean that and feel that, then everything's going to fall into place.
Right. And one more thing, I noticed it today, and that's what I'm bringing to you. The work environment before, maybe I was the new kid, I've been there probably almost the same amount of time I've been doing this. And all of a sudden I'm noticing everybody is a lot more congenial. I don't know what the word would be, but a lot more enthusiastic. There you go. In a sense with me, where before I didn't even get a hello and goodbye, and now I do. Or people do this. I just feel the energy is different. And maybe it's because I'm different. I don't know. But the energy is definitely different there with all the other people, the outside people, custodian, all the people that come in and out. Today I had two ladies, they were laughing, I was like, oh, okay. They heard me on the phone and they stopped. And then I think they waited to say something to me, and they were like, wow, you were so nice on the phone. And I was like, because I want to be, because I can't stand people who are not nice on the phone. And it's very easy to be helpful and nice on the phone. So the outside environment, I'm getting feedback, Peter, and that feels good. I don't know.
Well, again, that's great. And so just begin to notice that, everything is a reflection. All the people we see, it's all a reflection of what's coming from us.
Yeah.
Course in Miracles will tell you there's nobody else out there. We're just seeing ourselves and everyone that we meet, a different aspect of ourselves. We don't have to go there yet. That'll be the next book.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just like, we do, whatever we see in our environment is a reflection of our own attitudes, our own outlook, our own, state of mind.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
The book that I'm really going to concentrate on, I read it, I read it twice, Peter, years ago, is The Law of Attraction. I read it with somebody, meaning your father, and we read it out loud, and we read that book over and over again. But I guess it feels like it just didn't stick, because maybe I have it deep down inside somewhere, but it didn't stick. And maybe I'm going to read, because you brought it up again. That's the book. So that's the thing I will do to keep this going.
So imagine, if you got the results you got going once a week, imagine if you did something 3 times a week.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Imagine if you did something every day. Doesn't have to be, it could be 15 minutes. But if you did 15,
like you say, here I
minutes,
said I'm gonna read the book. So every day I take an hour to read that book, but slowly and absorb it, and that's what you have to do and do.
And then, because we talked about this, how do they, the athletes, how do they become so great? A lot of them are born with a certain level of talent, but there's a lot of talented people out there. It's the people who practice, the repetition, challenging themselves, hanging out with people who are better than them. A lot of star athletes, they're always looking for somebody who's better than them to compete with, because that raises their level. But they still do something every day. So it is a daily practice. It is it's just changing, what's important to us. I hate to say it, but we kind of know how that story ends, and it's not, and we all have a different story, but none of it ends really well. And so the other road, it's got to be better. So putting in that effort, and again, from a place of, I love myself enough that I'm going to do something every day to change, to move closer to who I want to be. Remember, the only question that matters is, who do you want to be in this life? Who do you want to be in this situation? Who do you want to be with this other person? It's not even who do you think you are anymore. It's who do you want to be? You know enough now. We all know enough now that the question is, who do I want to be in this situation? Who do I want to be in this moment? How do I want to be? Do I want to be loving? Do I want to be forgiving? Or do I want to go down the old road?
Right. It just sounds so funny. Now that I think about it, I had these two ladies stop in their tracks, listening to me on the phone. That's pretty amazing. And then we really laughed about it because I was like, what do you want? She says, they were both like, wow, you really. So there you go. All right. I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate everything that has happened in these last 14 months. I know Dee Dee does. I know everybody does, including you. And, it's just amazing what can be done, what can be changed. I'm sure you have. I know you have another book in you. So can't wait.
It really comes down to how bad we want it.
Okay.
How badly do we want things to change? And some people have to hit rock bottom. You hang out in 12-step rooms long enough and you hear the stories. Thank God, many of us aren't there, but there are some, people really have to hit rock bottom in some ways before they really make that commitment. And
then I had so stressed and crazy, and I told you this happens with her or anybody. When you want to say something that's kind of helpful, not a mother thing. So I just said, your thoughts and your feelings will get you through this. You can do it, and that was it. That's all I kind of texted her back, and she just said thanks, but you'd appreciate that.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And something that I find really helpful, I believe in you. I know you can figure this out. I know you can handle this. I'm sorry that it's tough right now, but I believe in you.
Yeah. People, I can't, somebody that's going through that must be a very, turn it to the flip side. And that's got to be a really good thing to hear or see as far as texting. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's not, I've had to learn this the hard way, frankly. It's not my great suggestions that are going to, help somebody. Unless they ask. If they ask and they're really interested, it can be very helpful. But, for whatever reason, there's a lot of people in my life who are not asking for they're not, they don't care that I wrote the book. They're not interested.
Oh, yes.
So
I know.
So it's not my good advice.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what? I believe in you. How can I help? Is there anything I can do? Keeping in mind that I have to take care of myself. Just a positive, telling somebody all the things that they're not doing right or that they have to change never goes well.
Yeah.
So it becomes a fine line in some cases. But, until, I think something as simple as, I believe in you. I admire the way you handled that, just some kind of positive reinforcement, positive affirmation, because the minute I say something that can even be construed as negative, people shut down And I do that. When somebody criticizes me, I'm not open to doesn't matter how good their suggestions are. If I feel like I'm being made wrong for who I am or for what I did or didn't do, doesn't matter how great your suggestions are. And a lot of people, it's so interesting. It's like, it took me a long time to understand that, because I know exactly what you need to do to fix your life. And, that's not helpful. Again, unless they want it. So until then, it's, positive, just whatever I can think of that's positive, that's helpful. And, sometimes I gotta get off the tracks. I gotta let them, they gotta hit that wall. And when it hurts enough, we ask. And again, it's not even, what I say isn't right for everybody. There's people, they're in a different place. It's not, I don't have the answers really for anybody but myself. I'm glad you guys show up every week. But I really wrote this book for me. All right. Anything else, Barb?
Whoops. No, I think that's it. It sounded kind of like a closing, didn't it?
Yeah. And remember, first of all, I'm around.
Yeah.
There's, sometimes just picking up the book and just opening any place, and it could be any book that you like. That's helpful. Watch the videos.
Okay.
Reach out to somebody. It could be somebody in the group or somebody from, outside the group. I think what we're going to do is, at least for the next couple of months, is maybe just do a monthly check-in, just to see where everybody's at. Stay in, keep connected. But I have to be honest, I'm just really undecided about if I'm going to continue doing workshops or not. To, talk about, it's been great for me, and I'm grateful. But it is a lot of work. And so I really have to think about it. But that being said, I think at least the next month or 2 months, maybe in 3 months, we'll do a monthly check-in so we can stay connected. And then it is just a daily practice. It sounds monotonous or whatever, but we're going to do something every day anyway. We're going to repeat behaviors. We're going to repeat thought patterns anyway. So we may as well bring some conscious awareness to it, some conscious attention. And then recognize the benefits that come from that. Because again, we all know how that story goes. We can look at people in our family, friends, life in general. Interesting for me, for a long time, I wasn't at all tuned into the media, celebrities, politics. And in the last couple of months, for some reason, I've been following up with people, actors, because for a long time, I was really interested in the film industry. And I used to go to movies all the time, and I knew about all the productions and all that, as well as the actors and their lives and all that. And so, 20 years later, I'm going back, and, even the people who seem to have it the best in life, they have their challenges too. All kinds of stuff. So I think it's an opportunity for all of us to be more aware, more intentional, and I think ultimately more forgiving of ourselves and others. So I think we're going to end there, unless you guys want to say anything else.
No, I'm good. All of a sudden, it's so funny. I guess it was in the beginning when we started and you asked me the question and you said, Barbara, what's the F word? And I was like, huh? And I didn't remember, but yes, it was forgiveness. So I think, again, there's so many things that I'm going to remember, and it's, it's there. It's embedded in me, or I've learned it. Is that a good word? I've learned it. I don't know. I'm using it.
I've absorbed it. It's there.
Yes.
And another word for forgiveness is understanding.
Okay. Okay.
It's not necessarily agreeing with what somebody else is doing, but it's beginning to understand, why we do the crazy stuff that we do to each other. And it's usually not because we're bad people, in my opinion. And so if I can begin to understand what motivates people to act the way they act and do the things that they do, myself included. And that thing from A Course in Miracles, would I accuse myself of doing this? When I see somebody else acting crazy and I want to accuse them of being whatever, and I stop and I really, and then I tell the truth. I had this experience. Well, actually, I had it today with the computer. There was somebody a couple of days ago, I was interacting with somebody and I could see they were so locked into this perception of themselves as a victim. And life was so unfair and so hard. And I noticed that. And in that moment, I thought, I used to do that a lot. And I kind of thought, well, maybe I'm over it. And then today, I'm in the middle of this whole thing. I'm like, oh, I'm just like them. I'm doing the exact same thing. So I can understand, I can comprehend why we act and react the way we do. That's another way to look at forgiveness.
Okay. Yep.
We're not giving somebody a pass on their bad behavior. We're not condoning their bad behavior. We're not agreeing with their crazy ideas, but at least we can begin to understand. And I've had this experience, and maybe you have too, and you can say to somebody, I understand why you feel that way. I understand how you could feel that way. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I certainly understand it.
Yeah,
and is there?
You're saying it and you mean it. Yeah, you're saying it sincerely. Okay.
And then is there a way that we can be helpful?
Uh-huh.
All right, let's play the song one more time. You feel free to get up and dance, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. Yeah.
All right, guys. So I really want to thank you and everybody who's watching, people who are here tonight and people who are watching. I know there's some people who watch after the fact. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. It's you've made this a wonderful experience for me. We may resume it at some point, but I do want to express my gratitude. And it's been great for me to experience in real time, being able to share this stuff and see how people react to it and how it can be helpful. I really enjoy that. I get a lot of satisfaction from that. And I'm inspired by you guys. I love when people overcome themselves. They overcome their limiting thoughts and beliefs about themselves and are bigger than they think they are. I mean, I find that very inspiring. So thank you. Anybody want to say anything? If we wrap it up?
No, just thank you and good night.
All right, you're welcome.
And I want to thank Barb for reminding me about the F word, because I really want to stop saying the F word and forgiveness. I was going to chime in earlier and plug the forgiveness, how important, how much healing in the forgiveness arena this whole process has been for me and continues to be. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to start trying to say, every time I want to say that F word, I'm going to come out with forgiveness.
Yay! I think that's great. I didn't even realize the two connections. Good for you. I will also.
All right, I'll just say one thing, guys. Woohoo! That's great. Awesome. All right, so remember, be bigger than you think you are today and every day. And I really mean that, every day. And until we meet again, until we speak again.
All right, let us know when next time, the next chat. Okay.
Will do.
All right. Good
Good
night.
night.
Are you all finished for the evening?
Yes, we are. Just wrapped it up.
Was it good?
That was great. Yeah. And I want to thank you. I thanked everybody else. I really want to thank you for your support and your beautiful smile and your energy and the light that you bring. So I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing your work into the light and into all of this to illuminate all of us, because what you see in me is what you're creating. You really are, Peter. It's
Thank you.
really, really true. So I'll let you rest. Just tell you that I love you. I love your work. I just think you are the best. And the photography is amazing. And your book, and then whatever you do next, you're one of those, like the Michelangelo that just has so many skill sets and can keep on doing more things and different things and enjoying them all. So I
All right.
really admire that about you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love to you.
All right.
Bye.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.